Welcome to our first church anniversary. Yes, we survived. 1 year, yes. If you meet some of these members, you should congratulate them because they did a very good job. Job well done, guys. Thank you. Um, to those who feel the calling of the Lord, either to start a church or to start a Bible study group, make sure that you pray, you search, and discern for affirmation that it is a calling from God. Because sometimes it's just our wish. Yep. And one of the most significant affirmations of our ministry is when you see whatever it is that you're starting, when you see it standing on its own feet. An affirmation comes in so many ways. After a year, when you have a baby, and the baby starts to walk, you rejoice, right? And that's what's happening here. The baby is working now. Yes, it's working now. And I'll tell you a story first before that. Our anniversary is supposed to be the 29th of September. I think most of you received that invitation. However, after all the preparations they did, God intervened. He sent me to the hospital with a heart failure, and I have to undergo an open heart surgery. It was a difficult stage, but I think God was trying to tell me something, because I've been asking Him while I was in the hospital, I was asking, why am I here? Ain't I supposed to be there in the church? Why am I here? Waiting. Cannot do anything. And then the answer came. Look at the church. They were having a service with our chairman, Toto, here. They continued the service without their pastor. Isn't that good? That's when you see these people already continuing the service on their own. Isn't that something to rejoice? And it gave me peace in my heart. And I said, but I think that's when I said, we had a dream before, and this is one of the dreams that we will have the church. And I remember 2022, November, the president of the first evangelical free church in the Philippines called us to say that we pray that you can start a church in New Zealand. And then I said, actually, I was dreaming that we can start a whole evangelical free church in New Zealand with so many evangelical free churches. So, wow, that's a big dream. So, yes, I know. If the dream does not scare you, it's not worth dreaming of. It has to be that big, because then it will show you that it's not because of your skills or talents or abilities, but it's because of God. That's an affirmation that God is calling you into something that you cannot do. Has to be Him. That's a dream. Part of the dream is what we call the World Harvest Fellowship Library. Part of the dream is also happening. The books are now in transit. We have the first book entitled More Than Words. It's a Bible study guide for new believers. This book talks about the characters of the Bible, like Moses, Joshua, Miriam, Ruth. The characters of the book and then the lessons that we gather from them. Volume 2 is also sent now, delivery. I was actually hoping it will arrive so that you can see it. This is about the books in the Bible, all of them, with a summary, a theological concepts, practical implications, and something that can give you about what the book is about. We do not do a verse-by-verse explanation of the Bible in these two books, because we are doing that on what we call a discipleship program called the Blueprint. The Blueprint has 8 books. The first book is called Following Christ. It's all about Christology. It's Christology made simple. The church has already undergone that 3 months of Christology. When you want to follow somebody, you need to know the person that you're following. First thing is you need to know. And where do you find the most vital information about the person? It's from him. So you go to the book of John, there are 7 I am statements in the book of John. I am the bread of life, I am the resurrection, I am the good shepherd. And the good thing about this book of John is there are also 7 miracles that correspond to these I am statements. For instance, I am the bread of life has the feeding of the 5,000. I am the resurrection and the life, then you have the raising of Lazarus. Now, these 7 miracles and the 7 I am statements, we put that in a book called Following Christ. The ebook is already available, and if you want a copy, there's that welcome team there. Give your name and your email address so I can send you the free email copy. It's a beautiful book. If you want a copy of the More Than Words, you can also give them give them that paper. In today's verse, it was read by Sister Imelda from 7 to 9, but we're looking at only one verse, and that is verse 9. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. You have heard this verse many times, and often you have your impression of the verse. What we want to do now is to take a look into that and see what's going on. Why is it relevant to me? Before that, we go into the verse first. The background of the verse is that the Lord was speaking to Apostle Paul. Apostle Paul was the one who persecuted the Christians. But then he became Paul, converted from being Saul. Now he's the one being persecuted. When he was a Paul and was traveling, the Lord is telling him of the grace and the transformative power of his weakness. The verse tells us about embracing our limitations, not as a source of shame, but an opportunity for God to shine through. It teaches us that God's grace is sufficient and abundant. It's enough to carry us through any hardship, trial, or weakness. 2 Corinthians is a cornerstone of Christian theology. And when Paul was experiencing trials, in the verse he said he was given a thorn in the flesh. And he even asked for it to be removed 3 times. What was God's response? He did not remove, but he strengthened Paul. And that reminds me of this. Pray not that the storm will stop. Instead, pray the boat is strong enough. When I was in the hospital, I was thinking, why would I need to go through this? It is painful. You can imagine that. Then you ask to remove it. But God will not remove it, but He will give you strength. I am not speaking to you now here, telling you God's message, because He has overcome already. I will bear this scar with pride, because this is a testament to God's power in my weakness. When I see this, I will not be ashamed, because this is a victory that I have gone through with Him. Because believe me, I cannot go through that without Him. The first day after the surgery, beautiful. Tayo ayo tindog, kay gipurahan ba ka? And that's the first thing I heard after the operation. It was so beautiful. And then he gave me a glass of water. That's when I remember, I am the water of life. Beautiful thing. Of course, it was still painful, but I think I overcome it. We don't pray that our problems will stop. No, we don't. We pray that God will strengthen us. So let's go to the verse and let's start breaking it up. My grace is sufficient for you. This is not a simple case of adequacy. This verse, the idea is on the one giving grace. The grace is unlimited, the only grace. It is unlimited, the source is unlimited. That is why it is sufficient. That is why it is enough. And we have different kinds of needs. We have different types of problems. But God's grace is sufficient for all of us. Whatever it is that you're undergoing now, whatever it is that you are suffering from now, you don't ask for that to stop, but remember that the source of grace is unlimited. You will overcome it, believe me. You will just have to learn how to lift it up to Him. And this is where the illustration comes. Anxieties, this is the other side, are inversely proportional to your belief and dependence on God or to your trust in God. It's like you have a glass of water, and the grace of God is the water. If it is only half full, then there's a space that will be filled with anxiety. If you are filled with water and filled with God's grace or trust in God, there is no space for anxieties. But why are we born Why are we here now with half full? Nobody is full here. You know why? Because that's a process of transformation. That's a process of sanctification. That is why we go to church with fellow believers every Sunday, so that we can encourage each other. That's why you go to Bible studies, so that you learn more about Him and you become more like Him as you go and follow Christ. That is the idea, so that your glass will be filled until we meet Him again. That's the idea of my grace is sufficient for you. Now let's go to the other side. For my power is made perfect in weakness. This part is kind of confusing. Let me show you the word. Verse 10. That is why for Christ's sake I delight in weakness, in insults, in hardships, in persecutions, in difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong. When I am weak, then I am strong. Let me explain this to you using English grammar. You see, made of, made from, made with, and made in. Let's go through that one by one. Do you know the difference and how to use them? Yeah? Made of, for instance. Made from. Made with. And made in. Why are we looking at this? Because the verse said it, made perfect in weakness. It's not made perfect for weakness. It's not made perfect with weakness. Now, many preachers, you will hear probably, it says that God will transform your weakness into strength. That is not that verse. Now let's go into prepositions. This is the English part. Let's go to made of. Made of is when the material that's used doesn't change. Like the bowl is made of glass. The glass probably before was like a bottle or whatever it was. It's still glass, but it's now bowl. The form and the function is different. That is made of. Okay? Now, what is made from? Made from is when the material itself is changed. Like paper is made from trees. You cannot see the trees because now it's formed into paper. That's made from. Okay? Are you with me so far? Made with. Made with is when you have ingredients, many parts. So you have the dish is made with beef, red peppers, and herbs. So there are other things involved. Okay? Now let's go to made in. What is made in? The made in is in the location where it is made. The value of the thing can even be added into the material because of the location. But the location doesn't change. When you say made in France, you prefer a Merlot or a Shiraz. You want, because it's from France. You don't want one from the Philippines. In other words, the wine, where it came from, has its own value because of the location. So that's made in. My grace is sufficient for you, because the source is unlimited. For my power is made perfect in weakness. What does it mean? We hear questions like, I have received Christ already for 3 years now. Why am I still sinning? I received Christ in 1988. And until now, when I say a beautiful lady, I still go. And of course, I hope my wife didn't see that. But, there is that, because the weakness is still there. It is not that weakness that is transformed into grace. No, the weakness is still there. But why is it not gone? It is because the power of the Lord, the grace of the Lord, or His power, is made perfect in that weakness. And therefore, it is perfected. That's why it's called made perfect. In other words, completed or finished. Why is it relevant? Because your transformation is still happening as you go along when you follow Christ. There is no magic in there. No, it's not like that. It is still there, but it is God's power who will walk you through because His grace is. And that is why the verse made sense, because now you realize, I am of course still a sinner after receiving Christ, but the desire for sin is not there. There is still that weakness, But then, as you go along and as you search for Christ, as you study the Bible, His words, then you will become more and more like Christ. Now, when we talk about weakness, we also talk about failures, about imperfections, limitations. And I want to go to Dishana Barber. He's Miss USA 2016. She is the first soldier who became Miss USA. Now, please don't think that I'm into pageants now and change my pronoun. No, 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 no. I am, what I'm saying is this. Dishana Barber, one afternoon, she met a woman who said, "You are the most beautiful woman I have ever seen. You must be the next Miss USA. And if you want to, I can give you hints of how to join a pageant. You can talk tomorrow morning." So they had tomorrow morning, and then they had lunch, and then they had dinner, because there's so many things that the woman was telling her. And that year, she joined a local beauty pageant. Guess what? She lost. But still confident because she's beautiful, she joined the next year. She lost again. With confidence a little lower now, she still joined the third time. And guess what? The same beauty contest, she still lost. On the sixth try, before the pageant, she called the woman and said, "You said I will be the next Miss USA. I cannot even win a local pageant." And the woman said, "Keep working, don't quit." Said, "Okay, I will continue. I will try this one, otherwise I'm out." And she won the local pageant that year. Then she won as Miss USA. During her interview, she said this. I am rephrasing this for our purpose. And he said, "I ask only one thing of you today after you leave this building. Do not fear failure, but please be terrified of regret. Giving up is the birth of regret. After you walk out this door, you will see 100 doors shut, slammed in your face. You will have 100 moments that will be filled with no. Or others will tell you, "Thank you for your application, but we regret to inform you that we have chosen a different candidate for this job." You will sit in 100 different interviews and not get the job. The reality in life is there will be more no's than yes. And we will fail a lot. And I mean a whole lot. But I ask you today not to be afraid of the no's, but to be terrified that you have prematurely destroyed a yes because you have decided to quit. Imagine the sixth year of the sauna. Had he stopped, then she wouldn't be Miss USA. But how do you know when it is time that you will win? You don't. That's why God puts you in there so that you become stronger and stronger every time you fail. The no is fueling a fire set ablaze because of the no that will come next. Today, I mention this because it has profound implications for our lives. We are all called to be vulnerable, to acknowledge our limitations, and to rely on God's grace. God's grace is sufficient. This doesn't mean, of course, that we wallow in our weakness or become complacent or lazy. We wait for the ayuda. We wait for KAIX or AKAP or whatever it is. No, you don't do that. It means that we should embrace them as opportunities for God to work in and through us. Remember that our weaknesses are not signs of failures, but a testament to our humanity. God is not interested on what you have. He's interested on what you have become. Because you cannot bring your money to heaven. You cannot bring your car to heaven. You cannot bring your house to heaven. You cannot bring your diplomas of masteral studies, of graduate of whatever is that. You cannot. What you bring to heaven is your character. That is why God is interested more about your or who you have become. That is where the transformation needs to happen. That's why we need to study more. That's why we need to attend more. That's why we need to be more like Him. As we go through this message, we go through trials that God has proven us worthy. that He always provides for us. Think about the trial that you're facing now. Take it to God in prayer. Ask Him to show how to trust Him and to lean in His provision. Do not lean on your own understanding or material possessions. You are not going to take care of that in heaven. Let us leave this place with a renewed understanding of our strengths. Embrace our vulnerabilities, not as burdens, but as pathways of God's power. Thank you, and God bless.
May this song be our prayer of thanksgiving to God. Let's sing together. I love you, Lord, for your mercy never fails me. All my days I've been held in your hands. From the moment that I wake up till I lay my head, oh, I will sing
For our benediction, I'm reading from the book of Numbers, chapter 6, verse 22 to 27. The Lord said to Moses, "Tell Aaron and his sons, this is how you are to bless the Israelites. Say to them, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace." So they will put my name on the Israelites, and I will bless them. God bless us.